Hello, I'm here with my friends for the next IAG Insights. Today, we have Stephanie Compton with Exeter Finance, not Exeter Financial, I was corrected a minute ago, and Lisa Franz with Big Valley and the IAG Board of Directors member.
Yeah.
Like sidekick. I'm like the wing person, but
I don't know. I'm Robin, you're Batman.
I'm Wonder Woman.
I like that.
We're actually doing this again because we did this in, I don't even know where we were, what state we were in.
I don't remember either. A
but-
conference somewhere.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it was recorded in like a dark alley and
Yeah. Kind of a
cameras
creepy,
died
Creepy
and
room.
seedy
Yeah.
hotel.
we're gonna have to look at it. But it was to celebrate your recent, award of remarketing executive of the year, right? So this is finally we found a place, and you're just a popular person.
I don't know about that, but okay.
No, you are.
Definitely.
Would give it. You had a great question last time that kicked us off. Do you remember what that was?
I don't know. I think I have a different question this time.
You got to ask that one because
I have to ask.
was
Okay. So, what was your first concert?
My first concert was Debbie Gibson.
But you have a really cool
I
story
do have a cool
about another concert.
story.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes,
I was
yes.
like, man, thought I was in the Matrix for a minute.
No. It led into that one.
Yeah, so
Debbie Gibson was a flash. She was fun.
yeah. But my fun concert story is I dialed into a radio show. They were doing a contest, and I don't know, it was the right caller or something, and won tickets to the Korn concert, and got to the venue, and we're in the nosebleeds, like as high up as you can go. And I don't remember who the opening act was, but before Korn came out, security came up to where we were sitting and asked us to come with them. We had no idea what was going on, and they walked us through, these tunnels, and ended up walking us up on stage, and we were able to stand on the side of the stage while Korn performed. They had kind of complete surprise.
Yeah.
And initially, because we were up in the nosebleeds, I'm like, okay, don't ever dial in for a radio show and try and get tickets. So so pretty fun. We got to sit up there through the entire concert while they were on stage.
And
probably from here to Lisa.
It's crazy.
what do you wear to a concert?
I mean, this was back in the '90s, so I don't
Like,
know,
like,
probably
do you
some
look-
baggy jeans and
some
boots or something.
Were you
I don't remember.
Like, I guess a better question is like, were you a Korn?
Yeah, I was
fan?
trying to win the tickets because I liked them.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
Different genre than Debbie Gibson.
a little bit.
Big time. Has your hearing come back from?
Actually, it wasn't. It was probably. The noise was probably not as loud as if you were.
You weren't right in front of the
were right
speaker.
in front,
Projected
because
forward.
so they're performing about where you are, and we're to the side of them, so we're kind of listening on the side versus being in like that front row, and the speakers just blaring that way. So really, from a sound perspective, it wasn't that bad.
It's pretty cool.
from what
Did
I
you get
can
to meet
remember.
any of them after the concert?
So a couple of them came over and just kind of high-fived as they were, coming on stage. But outside of that, no.
That's cool, though.
That would have made the story better, but no.
Maybe hung out in their tour bus.
A neat vantage point to like see audience
Yeah.
response.
Yeah.
I'm sure people are pretty active
Yeah.
at a Korn
Yeah.
concert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good. It was
People
cool.
watching was awesome.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I think some of the things that, if we think back from an award standpoint, because we look at IAG looks at nominations on an annual basis, and you're interesting enough without the award, but
Well, thank you.
when we think back to that space, it's like some of the characteristics about you, and I don't know like your leadership is felt in these circles, and your influence and your team, to know them and how they work with partners is pretty unique, and it's healthy, and so it's always in your demeanor. It's just this approachable, and you can see that you take the culture and the team members seriously.
Sure.
Is that something you've always valued, or is that like, where do you think that comes from?
So I had a person that was really probably the very first true mentor that I had. I worked at PAR for about 10 years, and David Greglowitz was the president at the time, and just gave me that honest, criticism, feedback, really preached integrity, and just he was, a servant leader, and, I had a lot of respect for him, loved the way that he managed, and, I felt comfortable enough that I could go, to him with questions or even, confide in him that, hey, I have aspirations to, grow and do all of these things. And, he gave me the ability, we went through some John Maxwell leadership stuff, and things like that. And it resonated with me. And so, even before I became into management role. And so I took a lot of what he instilled in me, excuse me, when I got into a management role to kind of be that same thing, to be a servant leader. I'm not going to ask my team to do something I wouldn't do myself. Treat them with respect. And that in itself goes a long way and helps build that relationship with your staff and things like that.
Well, culture is such a buzzword,
Mhm.
right? And I think most companies, for the most part, in 2025, adopt
Mhm.
the conception of a healthy culture being important. It's interesting to know you, and then really just talking about it doesn't get it done. So it's the daily activity
Mhm.
and like relationship with the team
Mhm.
where you can really sense it.
Mhm.
And so, like an extension from you, you can always, you can see that.
Sure.
I was thinking the other day, I was reading this book. I'm like a long book reader. It's like some of them I don't even finish. And
Okay.
I put inside there, right? But it was talking about principles, right? So as I've gotten older, I never really thought about it that way, and it seems like there's some principles that you've started to stack, and don't know if you think about it that way, but
I haven't actually.
Yeah.
I just.
But you
try-
mentioned integrity,
Yeah.
and right, certain
Yeah.
components.
Yeah.
And so, are there certain things that with your team that you try to promote?
Just to be a good human.
good one.
Treat people with respect. When you're dealing with whether it's an auction or any type of vendor or even your peers, just there's a way to communicate, even if there's an issue, without being a jerk about it, right? You can have those conversations. It can be candid, firm conversations without getting out of control or getting, you don't have to raise your voice, right? And so, and I think that goes a long way.
That's probably a
Just
big.
having some respect.
That's
in
probably a
general.
big differentiator with you. Like if we think about it, is the auctions are there service the account,
Mhm.
right? And so you could be in a position where you can just really,
Mhm.
right? But that approach isn't that way, and it feels like partnership.
It is, and I think some of that is, except for the last 10 years, prior to that, I'd always been on the other side. So servicing customers. I haven't always been the customer, just in the last 10 years have I been the customer. And so I think that helps being a customer because I've been on that other side, right? I've had that customer that's called and screamed and yelled and, it doesn't make you jump any higher or any quicker when someone's cursing at you or, being rude about it. And so I think I have a little bit more empathy, being a customer just from being on that other side. So you take that with just the whole culture thing, right? And then just, when we're dealing with auctions, just having that partnership, right? So we need auctions as much as you guys need us too, right? So it has to be a partnership. It's not gonna work if it doesn't. Auctions are gonna make mistakes, we'll make mistakes, but you address them as soon as they come up, excuse me, and handle it, professionally and move on down the road and.
Do you have that same type of discipline of uh, emotional awareness and discipline when you call Verizon? That seems to be like the one place where I start to lose it.
Well, I'm with AT&T, Yeah, I think so.
Nice.
Now
That's
there's
a
times
true, that's
where
a
I
true
do
sign of
get
level
a
of
little,
serenity.
I do get a little, I can get a little aggravated, but I'm not a yeller, but I can talk to you very candidly. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, without cursing and things like that. But
But always respectfully.
yeah,
And we want
and
to,
you have to be.
and I know that we have customers that call and yell. And like you said, it doesn't make me want to jump any higher. It doesn't make me want to, but you call and say, we've got to talk about something. Man, I break my neck trying to, to please you when you're
Sure,
kind about it.
sure, sure.
We were at breakfast just a few minutes ago, and one of the auctions at the breakfast was so cute. He brought you up, and big guy, and he said, "Yeah, I first met her. I was so afraid of her." He said, she's wonderful. She's just
Well,
wonderful."
thank you.
So think very highly of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, well, in a position of power like that, there would be a response and, respect to listen, but true, deep respect. To your point, when somebody's just kind about it, and you can
I mean,
have
do
this
anything to
rich
please
power-
them.
Exactly.
So I oversee all aspects of asset remarketing. So we have an internal team and then an external team. Our internal team is handling everything from assigning cars to auction, tracking the transport, making sure we've got condition reports and mileage, working on the title piece, clearing cars for sale, making sure that once the cars are sold, we've got proceeds. So there's a lot of things that they do behind the scenes that they probably don't get enough recognition for. And then we have our auction managers out in the field that are also, going to auctions, walking cars, getting on the block. We try and rep as many cars as we can in person. My general rule of thumb, if we've got 35 cars or more, I want somebody there. Sometimes it doesn't work that way, but the majority, I would say probably 90 to 95% of our sales are repped in person. And that makes a big difference, having that connection, our folks in the field with not just the auction, but the buyers and the auctioneers. And it makes a big difference if somebody's there in person. So there's a lot of, moving parts. So it's not just me, right? I'll, go to auctions, I'll fill in, if somebody's on vacation or what have you. But there's a lot of moving parts that, really is all of my team, whatever the inside team does, whatever the outside, one of them can't do the other, without, can't do their job without the other, right? And then just, between Brent and myself overseeing all of that, it's worked.
And as far as markets and what volumes look like, the old legendary question, do you see any shifts in the next year or so with any of
We'll
that stuff?
probably be pretty consistent with what we did last year. I don't anticipate a huge jump in in volume. It will probably be pretty flat from that standpoint.
Any trends you're seeing right now, or is it pretty standard
Pretty
stuff?
standard, yeah.
Yeah. I know everyone asks just what it feels like. We don't have a
Crystal ball.
crystal ball to look into the future, but it seems
We have
pretty
a little
status
bit of
quo.
of a niche, selling, we're primarily subprime. But we have that, 7 or 8 year old car with 112 to 115,000 miles in that, $6,000 to $7,000 range, which is, kind of that nice, niche there. So I think we benefit, from that aspect. Having the type of vehicle that dealers are looking for.
And you work with a lot of independents.
We do.
Right?
Majority are, yeah. I mean, we work with the big
ADESA,
three
Manheim,
between ADESA, Manheim, and Americas.
Yeah.
But we are, pretty heavy on the independent side.
Yeah. Any challenges, or what are the greatest challenges that you run into?
Satisfying everyone. Everyone wants 4 cars. Right?
Everybody wants more
Yeah.
cars.
I think too, just keeping a pulse on just the industry in general, keeping a pulse on auctions, making sure that we're not overloading them, turning a good auction into a bad auction by giving them volume. You're never going to call and say, hey, slow down a little bit, we can't handle it.
Never.
Right? So just making sure and, that we're keeping in tune with, with those things. We send scorecards after every sale so that you've got that feedback on, here's what you're doing really well, maybe here's some opportunities, things like that. We do quarterly reviews, with auctions as well. So we're getting ready to start setting up calls to do our Q1 reviews. And then we give out auction awards, every year. And it's a group effort. The auction managers and Brent and myself go in a room, and we don't leave until we're all in agreement with, who the awards go to. In the last couple of years, it came down to a couple of auctions and trying to vote. And we're like, you know what, let's just give them both. And we've created awards just to be able to, recognize, somebody that's deserving of an award, but, creating something just to make sure that they're recognized. So,
Well, it's a testament again to like culture and how it's led to be able to have enough trust in a room that people can challenge.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. And Brent and I meet, usually ahead of time, and we kind of know in the back of our minds, okay, here's who we think, the awards, go to, and then, and we don't disclose, who we think, and a lot of times we're all on the same page, and then there's some times where they're like, they throw a curveball, and we're like, oh, we hadn't thought about that, so it's fun.
Any major life events coming up? Is 2025 a standard year?
It's a standard year.
Yeah.
My youngest daughter will be graduating college, so that's kind of a big deal.
That's a big one.
It is a big deal.
Yeah.
Another big. I turned 50 this year in July,
Yeah.
so that's a big
That's
deal.
a big one.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
The one thing
I
I
can-
thought about 50 is
I can-
people love if you're 50, it's like, come on over.
Yeah.
You get really excited.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
It's funny. Someone asked me how I felt about turning 50, and I'm like, I can remember, when you're younger and your parents or your grandparents are 50, and you're like, oh my gosh, they're so old.
That's old.
And now that I'm almost there, I was like, hell yeah, I made it to 50.
Yeah.
I saw a picture the other day, and it was my grandparents, and I was little. And my dad said something about him, and he said, yeah, your grandmother was like 42, I think, in that picture. I thought, oh my
Wow.
God, I thought she was so old.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
She was 42.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I looked up
Perspective.
I looked up John Candy and what was it, like Summer Vacation, or that one of those movies?
The
Dan,
Great
and Dan
Outdoors.
Aykroyd, Great Outdoors.
Yes.
I just
'Cause I was
watched that
curious.
recently,
And I was like,
actually.
I googled them, like, how old were they in that? They were in their 30s.
Oh wow.
That's crazy.
Oh wow.
So it does show you that you're wearing 50. Well,
Yeah. Yeah, well, thank
49.
you.
49. You're wearing 49.
I
you're
got
Wearing
a
it
few
well.
months. I've got
Yeah.
a few months.
It's not, the water's fine.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
bad.
I think in general, like just people don't. You look back and it's
Right.
like it just yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed a lot older.
Yeah.
I was listening to somebody speak over the last couple weeks, and I was like thinking it's somebody that's older, and they were like, "Oh, I'm 52." I'm like, "I'm 52." Man, the mirror doesn't show
Right.
me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
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 Awesome. What was I gonna ask you? When it comes to travel this year, where you're going, things that you have ahead, you're obviously here. Where are we gonna see you next this year?
Oh, that's a good question. I typically try and attend. It's tough to make it to every conference, but try and attend as many as I can. A lot of it is based on logistics, and the rest is the content. Is it something that it's going to add value?
Where's your home base?
Indiana?
But you spent a fair amount of time some time in Dallas.
I do. I'm there probably because half of my team, is there as well. So I'm there probably every 6 weeks or so.
Yeah.
And I'll usually, I'm usually there 2 or 3 days.
Is there any content in particular you feel is like there should be more attention, or things that are provided? I mean, this is a conversation we have all the time, and
It
it's
is.
hard to,
There's so many different topics that is very auction driven, but there's also some content that from a consignor standpoint. So you guys are really big in getting into the whole AI stuff. right? And we talked about this yesterday on a panel I was on with Chad Bailey on, how that impacts us. And the other individuals that were on the panel with me were all different type of, we had a dealership, there we had, U-Haul and Holman, and then, you've got repos. And so I think there's some things that AI can definitely help with, but, for me, with the repos and things like that, I feel like we still need that human, interaction in some aspects when you're looking at inspections and, things like that. I think there's some things that AI can do, but I think there's still a lot of things that still needs that human interaction as well.
I made a phone call the other day, and AI took me on a journey. I wanted a human so bad, and I had to ask myself, am I open to evolution, or
Yeah.
is this just not as convenient?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Because sometimes there's a system there, and it's just if I follow it, it'll lead me there. But yeah, that's probably something we have to be like really mindful
Yeah.
of. What do you think about AI? I mean, it's interesting because they say most companies should have some sort of a strategy
We have a couple
around
of
it.
things, processes internally where, we'll have a bot, do certain processes. I still think there's a lot of just human things that, that you need. I think if there's a way that you can improve a process, whether it's automation or using some type of a bot or AI, I think there's probably value in that. But there's some things that still need that, that human interaction.
Yeah.
Conversations, like this. If I call Lisa, it's, not a robo phone,
Real
talking
person.
to me, we can have, those conversations and things like that, so.
Nice. Hobbies. Is it corn concerts all the time? Is it like basket weaving? Is it
I do have a concert coming
keeping
up,
your
but
husband in
outside
check?
of that,
Yeah.
I don't have to do much to keep him in check, actually. So,
Yeah. He's
yeah.
pretty trained.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I'm speaking from experience.
Yeah,
It took me a while to
yeah,
be trained.
yeah.
But there.
No, we've been married 24 years.
Nice.
So, hobbies, I love to cook and I love to garden. Those are probably my two things.
Now you make some pretty mean salsa.
I do. I do.
It's good.
Nice.
But those are my grandma cooked a lot. We would go there on Sundays and, have Sunday dinner and, our lunch. And, I can remember I was probably maybe early 20s. And for Christmas one year, I asked her if she would give me, a recipe box with index cards with her handwritten recipes.
Aw.
And so I still
treasure.
I use Pinterest a lot too, but I still and she's not with us any longer, so it's great to have all of these index cards with her handwriting of all these
Yeah.
Recipes. So every once in a while, I'll pull something out of there. But definitely, love to cook, whether it's, grilling or, indoor, whatever, but love to cook.
I have a quick question. Since we're independent auctions, we love working with you guys,
Thank you.
but small independents that don't have your cars, I mean, how do you feel about people just chasing you down the hall and yelling in the elevator, like trying to get your attention? I mean, what would be a good way for a small independent to?
So typically, and we talked about this, I sat in on the Southern chapter meeting the other day, and that was one of the questions. First there has to be a need, right? So I don't have an issue with anyone, reaching out, and we'll have that conversation, whether there's a need or there's not. Typically what we'll do is put them through the onboarding process with our compliance and, vendor management onboarding group. And then we may or may not utilize them. But there have been situations where, we've onboarded somebody and something's come up and we needed somebody and they were in the chute and that's how they've ended up, getting cars. So I would just say, they can reach out and then they'll get a very, I'm very transparent.
You're very easy to
approachable.
talk to,
Yeah.
very approachable.
I'm not gonna give you a lot of fluff, so I'm not gonna tell you, oh, yeah, I'll send you cars.
Yeah.
So there's a process that they have to go through, and then certainly if there's a need, then, then we'll, go from there.
Well, we appreciate you
Thank you.
Respect. I think we speak for both of us.
Absolutely.
We say respect you, love you,
Thank you
and,
very much.
appreciate you taking the time to do this again.
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 Hopefully
Yes.
this one's better.
Yeah, I think the recording and the lighting is good. So
There we go. There
But
we go. So
thank you so
awesome.
much,
Well, thank you
Stephanie.
for having me.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.